So here's part 2 of my video about hypochondria. The first one was cut off because somebody called me and I thought that I edited the second part in, but apparently I didn't. I forgot it was a 2-part video, so hopefully nobody will call me on attempt number 2. So I was talking about hypochondria and sore muscles and stuff, and sometimes people get sore muscles, like they get knots in their muscles, and they call that a back injury, and then they use that as an excuse to not exercise, and then they never do it, and then they get so soft that they have a tiny little pull, and then break their back because they're not strong, because they never exercise, because they always thought they had a back injury because they had a knot in their back. So, but if you're going to talk about like hypochondria and hypochondriacs, it's good to go the other end of the spectrum as well, the other extreme, and other people, just to help get a understanding of the whole idea. So the person wanted me to talk about my idea of placebo effect and the power of the mind over hypochondria and health. And I think that the mind does have a lot to do with health of your body, because our mind has lots of different ways to communicate with the body, and it's very effective and very immediate, as we all know. All those times when you're like suddenly scared, you're suddenly angry or whatever, and you feel a shot of adrenaline all of a sudden, and that's very immediate and very strong and effective, and that's just from a mind, from something that you decide in your head, and that has a very strong physical effect on you. And those are your glands. The adrenal glands shove off the adrenaline. And we've got a bunch of different glands. You have your testicles. I guess the girls, they have the ovaries. You have your pituitary, thymus. So and they all shoot out their own set of hormones. The balls do the testosterone. I guess the ovaries do the estrogen, and then your pituitary does. Pineal does DMT, pituitary would do something else. So just depending on your mood and your idea, that could affect on what your body, what kind of hormones your body is secreting into your bloodstream and throughout your lymph system, into your bloodstream, so it can get all throughout your body. The lymph system, which transports all of the hormones and nutrients and stuff, it's actually more than your blood. If you have like the capillaries, you can go around the world like 4 times and stuff. So, yeah, you can just literally your entire body, and it can communicate and affect cells. The health of your cells, because cells have to constantly be sharing nutrients and staying up to date on the nutrients to stay healthy and all that kind of stuff, and so the body has 2 like different modes. You have the maintenance mode to stay healthy and live a long time, and then you have like the fight or flight mode, where your whole body goes into lockdown, and it's not sharing all the different nutrients. It's there to just work the most efficiently for the actual strength and immediate right now functioning, because it thinks that you're having to fight or flight, but if you're in the fight or flight mode all the time, then the cells can't stay healthy, and they wither and die, and you'll age. You'll deal with premature aging, and then develop other illnesses related to that can come from lack of nutrients getting to them. And also, you also need all those transportation of nutrients to help flush out toxins. If you're always in fight or flight and never flushing out toxins, the toxins stay in there, and those cause sicknesses and all kinds of sicknesses. That's probably actually the main cause. Lack of nutrient transportation, buildup of toxins get you sick. So it's interesting how cells communicate with each other, because the cell, the boss of the cell is the nucleus, but it's floating in the middle of the cell, which then has the lining. And so how do the nucleuses communicate with each other? Well, it's kind of like telephone. Like I talk to you, you talk to him, you talk to him, and pass it on. These little proteins and the hormones and stuff. They go and they hit the outside of the cell, and they just because of the shape of it, it recognizes the shape, and so it goes So then the corresponding one would detach from the cell lining and float to the middle of the cell, to the nucleus, and then tell the nucleus, and then the nucleus communicates with the rest of the body that way. So the body is really subtle, like really complex and very small, and it just needs to be the less toxins are in there, the healthier you're going to be. So basically, being a person who's relaxed, gets plenty of sleep, plenty of exercise, and allows the body to function the way that it's designed to function without causing too much, outside stress. And so a hypochondriac could put stress on the body by not exercising, finding an excuse to not exercise, and just by being really, if you're depressed all the time and thinking that you're sick, then there's no emotionism going on in your mind, which is going to cause a atrophy in all of your hormones, all of your glands, because they're not reacting, because they react to your mind when you get excited and, like the emotion of sex gives you a boner and makes you ejaculate. That's a gland. The emotion of love makes your heart feel warm or cold if you're angry, and thinking about using your imagination and looking up activates your pineal gland. Sleeping, activates. So yeah, you have a whole lot of control over your body just with your body. But it's better to think of it in the positive way rather than the negative way, because then think of it in the negative way, you're always like, oh no, well don't think anything negative, don't think you might be sick, because then you're going to make yourself sick. No, just stay positive, so that would be the opposite spectrum of hypochondria. Somebody who refuses to believe that they're sick, like somebody who is sneezing but they're still at work. Every once in a while you see a movie of the workaholic, and they're walking around and they're and they're just working and fighting. Well, attitudes like that are great, I think, to get you well, as long as you're not beating your body into the ground. I mean, the imagery of the workaholic, it's like they're beating their body in the ground, but I mean, just because you have the sniffles and stuff doesn't mean that your sniffles are going to get better if you lie down. Like moving and keeping the circulation going can make sicknesses better. So if you have a fever, then you would want to lay down and stuff. You're achy in the bones, you want to lay down, but anything beyond that, you don't want to find any excuse to slow you down at all. And if you just, and if it's just something in the background that you're dealing with, then it's just something in the background that you're dealing with, and it goes away. But if you focus on it, then you can keep it there. Like if you focus on your sniffles, like maybe now you're rubbing the skin off your nose from wiping or something, which then gives you more germs or something. I don't know. But I guess that's all I was gonna say. Lost my train of thought. Um, yeah. So yeah. Um, hypochondria. I think that's just a form of stupidity. Because if you're really smart, you would think you'd look at your body logically, and you'd say, you would, like a mechanic looks at a car, whether or not this is something that you want to be resting or something that you want to keep going, keep, not allow to get in your way. And so hypochondriacs probably like it's also an issue of not just them thinking they're sick, but maybe there's a underlying cause that makes them think that they're makes them want to be sick, like they have nothing better to do, and so they want to or they want attention, or they're lazy and they want an excuse to be lazy, or they're just, there's not a whole lot going up in their brain, and so they're just it's the easiest thing to do to, I don't know, but a hypochondriac, what I'm picturing is somebody who is totally illogical with their perceived sickness, and a person like that, that's just one of the kinds of crazy of people thinking, just believing something that's nuts, and the best way to deal with that, if somebody who's like that, is to confront them with logic and words, and have them try to defend their position, and with Socratic questioning. And once they realize they're talking nonsense, then they think about it, and you can actually get them to admit that they're crazy, and to try to back off a little bit, with all of their stuff that they make up, all the sicknesses that they're making up and stuff. And a way to fight hypochondria would just be, like I said, like drug addiction. It's something that they're addicted to. They're addicted to being a hypochondriac. They're addicted to focusing on that. So just to have them focus on something else. Especially the opposite of the same thing, like go out in the mountains, running through the mountains. Oh, but I'm sick and I've got the broken back and all that shit. Well, yeah, I know, but go up there anyway. Give it a try. Oh, and then you could explain to them the logical reasons of why it's better for your body to exercise and stuff. So yeah, it's just a thing you confront. And if you're like a hypochondriac, you don't want to be as much of a hypochondriac, you could use the placebo effect with yourself, because that livens your mood, which livens your body. Go buy a bunch of tea, and every time you drink a cup of tea, be like, this is herbal tea, magical herbal tea supplement. So, but I mean, you definitely don't want to be a hypochondriac when it comes to cancer. Like if you get if you get a sharp pain inside of your organs in your stomach, that's different, dude. That's not joint or bone or something. Or you being ill or whatever. That's something you usually need to go get a CAT scan. Because, sometimes, my dad said he had pain in his stomach for 2 years before he went and got a CAT scan, found he had pancreatic cancer, and it was too late. So yeah, don't be a hypochondriac. And that's, now with the Obamacare, it's more affordable for people to go in and get those CAT scans and catch that cancer before it's too late. But that's the one thing that I would say don't fuck around with. But other than that, man, don't be a pussy. Exercising too much lowers your immune system, gives you the shivers, and makes you cold and stuff and sick. But then you bounce back, Just because you're sick last night doesn't mean you're going to be sick this morning, So I guess people just need to be in touch with their bodies by exercising and stuff. So, anyways, I think that's all I had to say about that. Peace out.